In One Punch Man world, we know that there are currently 4 types in the game. The first one being Morale, which has good characters such as Dreamworld Saitama, Puri Puri Prisoner, Prisoner Sonic, Genos, and Stinger. And for the second typing, which is Overpower, has some really good characters such as Amai Mask, Genos, Cyborg of Justice, Metal Knight, and Spring Mustachio. Now for the third typing, which is Technique, which revolves more around martial arts and weapons, has some very good characters such as Silverfang, Atomic Samurai, Speedo Sound Sonic, and Triple Staff Lily. And the last but not least, the class we have here is Assault, which has some very good characters such as Zombie Man, Tatsumaki, Iron, and Fubuki. So, out of all these 4 classes, which one is the best class which has the best heroes? Now, the way I'm going to be scaling these classes is basically by the characters that are very good, just judging overall what characters and which characters are in the class and basically which ones are very good and which ones kind of hold it back. I'll be also judging on the commissions. So how I'm going to be doing that is each type has an advantage, right? Whether it's Vaccine Man, for example, that is weak to Overpower types, or Mosquito Girl, who is weak to Morale types. I'm basically going to be scaling these of the commissions that are needed to be cleared. For example, the tier 16 memory chips, where Mosquito Girl, Vaccine Man, Turtle Monster, Pluton, and many more have to be cleared to get the right affixes to be used and the most played commissions in the game. Now, a lot of these bosses are very difficult to beat, but there are a couple advantages you can get which can help you beat these bosses much easier, which are their type weaknesses. For example, Mosquito Girl is weak to Morale types, and she is a very good damage dealing boss where she can wipe out a lot of allies in your squads, and she can do this really quickly with her Rupture ability. And good characters against this obviously are the Morale types. Now, if you don't have this typing advantage, your battle can be very, very difficult. So I'm going to give points to Morale for this one. Now for Vaccine Man is kind of the same story, except he is easier to kill because he doesn't do nearly as much damage as Mosquito Girl would. Now Vaccine Man is weak to Overpower types, and one thing that is very notable here is that he can fly. And one of the characters, the very few characters in the game that can target flying characters, happens to be Metal Knight, which is an Overpower type. Now, this is very good because he can do an extra 50% damage because of his weakness to Overpower types, and if you run a mono Overpower team, which you can house some of the best characters in the game with, you can take out this boss very, very quickly. So this is also points to the Overpower type. Now, Turtle Monster, we have Turtle Monster here who is weak to Technique types. Now, the problem being is that most Technique types in this class are melee, and Turtle Monster has a Rupture and also a spinning move which can basically hinder melee attackers when you attack Turtle Monster. Basically, when you make contact with Turtle Monster while he's spinning with your melee attack, you will get knocked back and staggered, so you can't actually attack him. So one of the characters that are very good with Turtle Monster are ranged characters, which so happens to be that Technique type characters aren't ranged, other than Golden Ball, which he is an absolute terrible character. So basically all the good characters that will match up well with Turtle Monster don't actually match up well with him because of the fact that he has one spinning move that can completely counter all of them, except Silverfang with his deflection ability, but the rest of your characters won't be able to attack him on a consistent basis. So for that, I'm only going to give minimal points to Technique type, if not any. Now for Pluton, we have a Morale type. So we are seeing that Pluton is weak to Morale types twice with these very popular commissions that have been played amongst most players in the game. Now the reason he's weak to Morale, we may not know, but he is a very, very hard character to beat, and if I didn't memorize his moveset, I would have a very hard time beating Pluton. Now, AI also struggles with Pluton, having his burning effect that takes up a huge chunk of your health every time you get this status element. Now, one way to counter Pluton is of course dodging, but with AI, you will not be able to dodge, right? So, morale types coming into hand is going to be very, very beneficial because they can deal a quick amount of damage in a quick succession, especially with a full team. And if you have, for example, tanks like Puri Puri, he can tank for the boss. And in doing so, all the other morale attack characters can attack without becoming staggered, right? And overall, you're going to get a very, very good damage boost with your 50% attack, and you will definitely be able to clear Pluton much faster. Now, if you're not having a morale type boost, this battle is going to be much more difficult because you're going to stay in the fight for way longer. So there's a higher chance that you can take damage from Pluton and end up losing the entire commission altogether. Plus the fact that if you're running a morale team, you'll be clearing this commission faster, so this will be better for autoing commissions with morale type characters. Not to mention Speedo Sound Sonic, Prisoner Edition, and Dreamworld Saitama alongside Genos can deal insane amounts of DPS on the boss, so that is very, very helpful to know, and overall will save a huge amount of time. Now you may be wondering, why is there one class that you're leaving out? Well, I went over morale types, technique types, and overpower types, but the one class I left out was assault types. Now, this being the reason that assault types have a type advantage for 2 bosses out of the many bosses in the tier 16 memory chip commissions, but the reason being is because these 2 bosses are completely obsolete in terms of their rate up rewards. So, Ancient King having a rate up rewards with Tenacity and Steadfast aren't required on any build in the game. They're not mandatory in any build in the game, so you don't need to play for Ancient King. Now for Armored Gorilla, he has a bunch of rate ups that are only 8%, but they're for a large majority of these mechanisms. Now these mechanisms are only character specific, so you would not want to hunt for these because there is a very, very low chance of getting what you actually want. So both of these commissions are obsolete and they do not really matter. So I did not take into account what Assault basically can do for these commissions because these commissions again aren't needed, so people won't be playing them as much, right? So for that, Assault type gets 0 points in terms of type benefits when you're going against bosses that are very, very overplayed. For example, Mosquito Girl, Vaccine Man, Turtle Monster, Pluton, etc. Okay, now we're going to be deducing the final winners off of the characters currently present in the game. So we have 4 types here, of course, like I said earlier, and the type here that I'm probably going to eliminate is basically going to be based on the characters, right? And that's what's going to come boiling down to. Now, honestly, Assault is missing a lot of characters. As you can see on the top slot, we have only 2 SRs, right? And for example, Technique has 3, Overpower has 3, and Morale has 3, right? So they're missing an SSR character, or SR character there. And the SSRs are alright. Zombie Man's kind of bad on AI, so he's not very flexible. Fubuki, same thing as well. She's not a very strong character, so she's really dragging the Assault class down, as well as they're not very good on commissions. So we're going to have to scratch off Assault here as well, because they're just not a very good typing when it comes to the characters that they bring to the table and all sorts of stuff like that. Don't get me wrong though, Tatsumaki is still very good, E-Iron is still very good, and honestly a lot of these characters are pretty decent, but they just really fall behind when they're not really effective in commissions because of the type advantage. Now we're gonna have to eliminate another one of these. Morale having very good characters like Puri Puri and Prisoner Sonic, and also Overpower having some very good powerhouses here, being Cyborg of Justice Genos, Amai Mask, and Metal Knight, all being very, very good DPS characters. So I'm gonna have to eliminate Technique. Now why I'm eliminating Technique is because they are not very good on AI, mainly because they rely on dodging. For example, Speedosonic here and Atomic Samurai both rely on dodging to use their moves, as well as Silverfang relies a lot on parries, which isn't very good on AI because, of course, they don't want the AI to be too broken, so it's really hard to basically play them on AI offhand, right? And even main, they don't play very well either. And this is bad because if you want to build a mono team, right, you're going to have some of these characters on offhand AI. For example, if I'm maining Speedo Sonic, I'm going to put this guy on offhand AI, which he will do absolutely horrendously on. Silverfang, same thing. And then I'll have to choose one of the SRs here, which probably will be Lily. And she'll do well, but these two guys will completely slow down the team. And that's really, really bad because you want a very, very balanced team. So again, crossing off technique here as well. So now it boils down to morale and overpower. Now morale, very good. Saitama, you've got some very strong SR characters in Stinger and Genos. You also have Puri Puri Prisoner, best tank in the game. And you also have Prisoner Sonic with a dodge, a parry, and it has a ton of DPS, which is very good, a very quick character. But on overpower side, you also have Metal Knight being the best AI character in the game, most consistent DPS ever, and we have a My Mask, same thing, no slump on AI, insane on AI, a lot of damage, really good potential, and high skill cap, right? Now we have Cyborg of Justice Genos. He's probably the worst out of the three in terms of AI, but he still does a very, very good job, and he's a good composure breaker, which is very good. He's also very versatile and can be very, very consistent to an extent as well. Now for the SRs, they're kind of lacking. Snek, not really the best. He's pretty decent for DPS, but if you're trying to play this guy, he's not that good. If you're even playing him on offhand AI, he's still kind of messy to play with because he does revolve around dodging and stuff. He's almost like a technique type character, in fact. But yeah, he's kind of there as well. Saitama, not very good. You don't want to play this guy on offhand AI, and you don't want to main him either because he doesn't do enough DPS, but he is also a very good tank in the game. So yeah, he's kind of just there, and he's not really benefiting to the team, and he's kind of dragging it down. Now Spring, very good bonus. He's very, very good. He's a breaker again. He's strong. He does a lot of damage. He has good DPS. He's good on AI, and you can play him well. So he's very good, but morale, there's just more useful players. In fact, there's more by one, right? Which is Genos, very strong, and Stinger. Now, Moomin Rider's in the same realm as kind of Snek, where he's kind of not that good at all. In fact, he probably does less damage than Snek, so I'd probably bench him out of there. So morale does have the advantage when it comes to SRs, but what I think makes Overpower just better in general as a class, and it's not that I have all these guys unlocked and I don't have morale characters. I have some morale characters not unlocked, for example Puri and Prisoner Sonic. I do think Overpower is better. Now let me explain. Okay, for example, morale, we have Genos, which is really good on AI, but you have Saitama, which isn't very strong on AI. You have Prisoner Sonic, which is pretty good on AI, but you do need to use a parry to actually get his fullest value. And you have Puri, which he has a parry, which you need to play on your main to get your fullest value. So you're really not getting too much DPS there if you're putting a lot of these players on the side. Like basically what I'm talking about here is similar to technique type. So they have the same issue there, right? And Puri also doesn't do too much DPS. Even if you're building him, he doesn't do that much DPS. I think he needs a buff in terms of raw damage because he's really not cutting it when you're comparing him to some characters like Prisoner Sonic, where he just does an insane amount of damage. Now, Overpower, on the other hand, great DPS for Genos. Great DPS for a My Mask. Great DPS for Metal Knight. And then if let's just say we're going for a fourth character here, Spring Mustachio, great DPS again. Right? So we're really getting a lot of damage here, and it's really beneficial to the team here, and I'm pretty sure that this definitely puts Overpower past morale, and I'm gonna crown Overpower as the best characters for basically the entire roster of One Punch Man World so far, and I'm gonna put Overpower characters on the top. Now obviously this may be subject to change as we may get new characters in the future, but this, as of now, as of these characters right here, I'm pretty sure Overpower is in the top, and they'd rest there pretty comfortably because of how strong each character is. So yep, I'm basically gonna finalize that Overpower is the best class or type in the game. Okay, so I'd like to end it off there. Thank you guys so much for watching through the video, and I will see you guys in the next one, whenever that may be. But yeah, peace out everybody. Have a great day.